Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Great music team you've got. These guys are awesome. So, a little about me, and then I really hope you ask me some questions, because I've been a professional musician and a teacher for a long time. I suppose I should start with coming to Unity. I came to Unity. I was a kid living in a suburban neighborhood near Unity Village. And there were some kids in the neighborhood, and we had a little garage band. We were about 12, 13 years old. And we had a little garage band. And we played together in the basement, and we lit incense, and thought we were really cool, Played Born to Be Wild and Venus and all those hip 60s songs, right? And they said to me, there's a brother and sister, and they said to me, you want to come play at our church? I think they would like you. And I said, oh, no, Because I had seen church. There was a church that was down the street from us called Besonia Baptist Church, and my mom, having grown up in the Disciples of Christ in St. Joe, Missouri, felt like her kids should go to a church, and that was the nearest church, right? And there's a pretty big difference, I think, between the Disciples of Christ and Besonia Baptist Church. My father got fired there. He decided to be a teacher, a Sunday school teacher there, and he was giving a lesson, and some kid asked him, what happens when you die? What is death? So my dad's an engineer, kind of, that's his training. He ran some businesses too, co-created a lot of cool stuff. But so the kid asks him, and dad goes, well, it's kind of like, how you learn in school where energy never really dies, It can be water, for instance, can be a vapor, or it can be a liquid, or it can be ice, and it can change form. Well, Besonia Baptist Church was not having that. That was not the explanation he was supposed to give, so he got fired. Anyway, so I'd spent a little time in that church. So when they asked me, do you want to go to a church? I was like, no, I don't think so. And they said, no, this is really different. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So I go, and oh my God, it was Unity Village. And I had no idea that, such a beautiful place. I was 13. I was 13 years old, so I had not been out of the suburbs much, right? And I had no idea that a place could be that beautiful. All the Italian architecture and the fountains and many of you have been there, I'm sure, and you've seen pictures if you haven't. And then they had this God who was nice. And I just thought, can you do that? I remember feeling kind of at first am I going to get in trouble for believing God is really nice and loving and sweet and kind? And everybody was so sweet and kind and nice. And the rest is history. I was 13, and I spent, it was really a booming place then. It's kind of gotten back to where it's really growing again, but at the time it was just huge. And Sig and Jane Paulson were the ministers there. I don't know if you're familiar with those names or not, but they were wonderful people, and they really helped us. The YOU there, the Youth of Unity there, had about 40 or 50 kids the whole time I was there. It was just monstrous, and it gave me an audience as a songwriter, because I was writing New Thought before there was New Thought, We were just writing songs about Unity ideas and performing them, and we made an album called Logos. The name of the little band we had was called Logos, because we went through the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary and went, well, that's a pretty cool name, Fillmore's book, right? And we came up with that. We were Sound Incorporated before that, so Logos was a big improvement over the corporate Sound Incorporated. So we played and we wrote and we played and we wrote and we kind of built our chops up. I went on to go into music as a profession and did that for 10 years. Earned a rugged living at it. Anybody that's ever tried to make a go as an artist knows that it's tough. And so I spent my 20s learning about that process. Went back to college. I'd kind of bombed out earlier, and so I went back to college, fell in love with it, and became an English teacher, in high school for a while, and then an English professor. Now, so I've taught a lot of writing, like a whole lot of writing over the years, and it's always a fascinating adventure because every kid is different, every student is different. They're not kids anymore because I teach college, but every student is really different, and unique, and so I find myself trying to draw out of them that which is individual and unique, because the most interesting writing, the most interesting songs, the most interesting writing is always the stuff that comes from in here, and comes from that individual's unique perspective on the world based on their unique life that they've lived. No one's really ever lived a life precisely like you have, like we all have. And so I try to get students to draw on that. What people tend to do when they try to create something is look outside and go, okay, so how do I please everybody? What can I write that people are going to like, right? But inevitably, you're kind of like the guy at the party walking around trying to make everybody like you. It doesn't work, right? So what I try to draw out of students is, be vulnerable enough and be honest enough and authentic enough to tell your story, to tell you from your unique perspective. So anyway, so I've done that, and then I continued to play while I was teaching. I played in the bars a lot. It was a way to make money, and I enjoyed a lot of it. The co-creative process of working with the other musicians became a really beautiful thing to me, like you just saw, right? And if we all played together for a couple of months, it could get really good. I mean, it could get really cool. And so so I enjoyed that part of playing in the bars. That was the fun part of it. The rest of it, it's bars. But the work with the band and the synchronicity that would occur some nights with the dancers and the audience. People are just dancing and we're playing and everything is just, we're all one. And as a Unity guy, I'm looking at it, that way. Probably a lot of other folks really weren't, but maybe, I don't know. But I know I was. I was always looking to try to build that synchronicity and that co-creation of an event or a night with the audience, the people that were dancing, and then the guys in the band. And so, so I guess I say all that to just say that, and then to tag that. So I left the bar band business in 2011, and just started playing at Unity Village on the music team there, and I've been there since I guess then, so 7 years or 8 years, and I've had the opportunity to play a lot of songs that I've written, working with Reverend Aaron there. Aaron McCabe has been fantastic. She's real into the music, so we have a great music team. I tell people our rehearsals are the fun thing for me. We get our MP3s and our charts on something called a Dropbox. Some of you may be familiar with it. And we get those on Wednesday or Thursday, or maybe Friday, depending on if Aaron is on it or not. And we get those, we do our homework on them, make sure we understand what's going on. Then we come in at 9 o'clock for a rehearsal that lasts an hour. And I tell people, if you really want to see co-creation, come to our rehearsal. Just sit out in the audience and just watch us put that together. Because, I mean, we've got two world-class jazz musicians, Kansas City jazz musicians, Joe Cartwright and Steve Ragazzi, plays bass. Got myself, and we got Todd Gillette on drums. Todd's kind of like me. He's a veteran of the bars, And so we're pretty savvy, We've been around, all of us, and then we have our background singers. And so this process of everybody sitting around and going, okay, you're going to take that, and I'm going to take this, and you're going to take that. A couple of you may have seen it this morning when we were kicking around, chord changes and things like that. And I love that part. I just love that part. Doing the service is fun and cool. But I really like the rehearsals better, honestly, because it's just so collaborative. I'm going to get a drink of water. So I guess I envisioned, so that's my background. That's what I know about. And so I guess I envisioned this morning being an opportunity for you to maybe ask questions about co-creation, that how to write, how to create art, how to create anything really, a business or whatever, and I might know something about that. So do you have any questions about co-creation? Yes, thank you.
Well, we're in a unique position right now because we're trying to co-create a pathway to get a different minister in. And, so what would you suggest about how to, you have any suggestions on that co-creative process for us?
I would say again, be authentic. You know, be real about what you want. Now, of course, it's a congregation, so there's going to be a number of opinions about what you want. But I would say be authentic about that. I would say be open. I know in bands, I'm starting another band. I'm actually going back into the bars again because I'm starting to kind of miss it a little. And I miss that's the part I miss, is the being in a band with guys and being in a co-creative process, right? So we're dipping our toe back in. It's a band called Dharma. Look for us in a bar near you, I guess. But I would say that if you can stay conscious of the fact that you're all one, you know, when I'm in a band, I don't always get what I want. This band isn't going to really play. I was just talking to Brendan and Bill about this yesterday. This band's probably not going to play exactly the way or the kind of stuff that I would do if I were just dictator, you know. The other two guys have their perspectives, but what we all recognize is that we're all one in the larger spiritual universal sense, because they're unity guys, but also just that we're all one band, and what we're going to build together is greater than maybe one individual. So I guess that would be my answer, is just to stay open to the fact that you are all one. You all really do have and I really believe in being objective driven, right? So like how you get there is really the journey, and you don't kind of know how it's going to go a lot of times, you know? But if you have the same objective in mind, that we're going to find the most awesome minister for our congregation, and you all just hold that, and in your discussions and in your search and everything you're doing, if you hold the fact that that's our objective, and then how we get there, I always tell my students all the time, you know, I want the best idea to win. I don't want to win. You shouldn't want to win. You know, let's let the best ideas win. You know, let's let the best strategies and stuff that gets you to the goal, to the objective, win. And I do that in our bands all the time. It's like we'll fuss around about whether we're going to play it this way or we're going to play it that way, or even if we're going to play that song at all. But in the end, what I try to foster as the band leader is this environment where the best idea wins out. Does that help? I don't know. Other questions? That's a great question. How long do I have? Another 10, 15 minutes maybe? 2? Oh.
Till quarter till everything.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah.
So when you're trying to get in the songwriting mode, do you consciously do that, or are you kind of just open to ideas?
Yeah, that's a great question. The answer is I don't know, man. It's I think you have to be open to spirit. I think you have to be open to the process that the song wants. In my mind, when I think about it, I like that idea of there's a piece of granite, and then the statue emerges from it, right? So it has its own life, kind of, right? So when I'm writing a song or I'm recording a song, I keep kind of asking the song, what do you want? What do you want to be? Typically, though, I was just talking to Bill about this. In the last 3 albums I've done, they've all been very consciously new thought albums, especially the last 2, very consciously new thought albums. So I've had a tendency to to hear something or read something, hear something Aaron says in a talk or somebody else says in a talk, and then take that idea and go, okay, I'm going to write a song around this idea. This song, Co-Creator, that we just did, came out of reading Walsh's book. Neil Walsh, is that his name? Yeah. And Conversations with God. And a friend of mine recommended it. I read it, and I loved the kind of core thesis of it, that's our purpose, is to co-create. I really like that idea. And so that's where that song came out of. So I'll get an idea of what I want the song to be about. And then I set about trying to sort of write a song around it and see what it wants. Like, what's that idea want to be? If it were a song, if this idea were a song, what would it want to be? Is that weird? I don't know. Right? Well, that's what I do. Other good questions. That's great. You want to hear me play? Okay. So the process, these are my secret weapon, by the way, these little star mints. No one knows I do this. It's a secret. So we're going to co-create this one as well. Nina and I are, and at least this performance anyway.
Is this the When I Was God?
Yeah, this is When I Was God. So this song, obviously the title is When I Was God, so how completely pretentious is that, right? And I was reading, the song idea came from reading, there's a book called The Shadow Self. It's kind of based on Jungian philosophy, and it goes into how we kind of tend to do this in Unity a lot, but I think the overarching culture does this too, where we tend to emphasize the positive and not focus on the negative. But what this book, written by a New Thoughter, says is that, well, you can't entirely just pretend like it's not there. The dark parts of your soul, the dark parts of your mind and your experience, right? You don't have to give it a lot of energy, but just to simply pretend like it's not there is maybe going to catch you later, right? So, and one of the things it asks is it's all based in, why we put things in the shadow comes from our fears, right? So I was asking myself, okay, well, so what is my deepest, really scares the crap out of me kind of fear, right? And as I kind of probed that and thought about that and felt that, it was that I'm one with God. That's a lot of responsibility, right? This was my journey, not yours necessarily. But it was kind of like I'd been in Unity nearly all my life, and I'd been in Buddhist things, but that idea, when you think about it, if you contemplate that's, you don't get to bail out anywhere along the line on that one, right? You're like, you're responsible for your life and perhaps the existence of the universe in a sort of, kind of direct way, right? So that was my deepest fear I felt. So I thought, well, okay, I'm going to work with that idea. So this song was really a journey of my spirit, and it ended up being about the journey of the spirit too. I was also kind of working with the idea of the Hindu idea of that the universe is God playing hide and seek with himself, right, or herself, or whatever. And so I was sort of working with that idea. So I started at the beginning with Genesis. Here it is. Morning and night. Then I was sky, I was the rain, the deep blue ocean, the fertile plain. But I could not see me at all. Then I became stars, sun and the moon, I played the ocean a rhythmic tune. Then I was light. I drank the rain. I could feel pleasure. I could feel pain. But I could not feel me at all. So then I was man. I knew what I knew. I could make words to talk with you. We talked about good, talked about bad, talked about happy, we talked about sad. But we could not explain God at all. Then I was me, making this life with my box of thoughts, the joy and the strife. And I heard a voice deep in my heart, take a new step, make a new start. So I faced my fears, cried all my tears, killed a few monsters between my years. And I found I imagined it all. Yes, I found I imagined it all. So now I am working, trying to wake up, trying to drink from her loving cup, trying to see past this illusion, trying to be past the confusion. The truth is a whisper born in forever. I listen in silence and try to remember when I was God. When I was God, when I was God, when I was God. Thank you very much. Should we move on? Is it about that time? Yeah. All right, cool. You have oh wait a minute, there's a question. Should we take it? Okay.
Were you a song co-creator when you were a wee one?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understood that. Say it again.
When you were a child?
Yes.
Were you a song co-creator? How early?
You know, I thought about talking about that, actually. I got a guitar when I was 11. I'll make this short. I know we got to get moving, but when I was 11, I got my first guitar. My dad got it for me. I'd been messing around with a ukulele of his, and he decided, well, I think he's going to play. So I got a guitar when I was 11, and I immediately started writing songs. And the first song I wrote, you know, I'm 11 years old, right? And so it was like, let's see if I can even play it. It was called "I Was Born with a Chip on My Shoulder." I was born with a chip on my shoulder, youngest of a family of 12. And it goes on from there, and it's an epic tale of my hard life that I'd lived and all the things that I'd gone through at age 11, living in the lily white suburbs of Kansas City. So then there's this little girl across the street. I got to tell this part of it too. There's this little girl across the street who just fell in love with me because, dudes, if you play a guitar, I don't know why. No one knows why. But if you play guitar, women seem to be attracted. She's like, was only 5 or 6 or 7. But she thought I was brilliant because I had written a really cool song called I Was Born with a Chimp on My Shoulder. You know, being a little girl, she thought chimps were cool. Right? And that's how it all started. Yeah, yeah. Was there one more question there somebody had? Yeah, yes, sir.
I was curious about the music that you play in bars as compared to what you do.
Yeah, it's a good question. The band that I had, I was trying to make money, so I was playing, and it was a honky-tonk band, and we played blues, country, and classic rock, and we played covers. I didn't really play anything that I wrote, because it just wouldn't work, you know. I mean, your goal is to get them to drink and dance, and that's really fun. I mean, I want to put it down. That process, like I said, that synchronicity of getting everybody in the room really dancing and into the groove, and the guys, you know, all synchronizing and playing really tight and well together, and just that whole thing is a neat experience. But it wasn't all that artistic, if that makes any sense, you know. But yeah, it was just cover songs. Born to Be Wild, and if I never play old time rock and roll again, that'll be okay. Or Cocaine. If I never play Cocaine again, I can live with that. I can move on from that. So, good questions. We never did Freebird because of that reason, because we knew. But yeah. Okay, so I think I'm wrapped up. I'm gonna do maybe one more song in a little while, but go ahead and get started. Thank you guys very much. It was nice.